Last standard of this unit, you're going to learn how to use patterns in data, and this is SP4. Relative frequency, frequency, distribution, and a two-way table. These are the new terms besides frequency and distribution that will be new to you. And we'll get to those in a second. The frequency of a piece of data is the number of times it appears in a data set. That should be reviewed. You've been doing that since 6th grade. A frequency distribution is a way of grouping data so that meaningful patterns can be found. Example 1. A sporting goods store recorded the number of tents sold each week in February and used the data to make a frequency table, which you can see below. Which percentage of all the tents sold in February were sold during the first 2 weeks of the month? So, this is real easy. 17 were sold in the first 2 weeks of the month. 34 is the total. Set up your fraction. Now, convert that to a decimal, 17 out of 34, which gives you 0.5. Times that by 100, that is 50%. Now, let's say I wanted to know the percentage of tents sold from 2 to 3. I would add that together and go 19 over 34, and again, convert that to a percent. There's it explained. In example 1, you calculate the percentage of tents that were sold during a certain time period. Sometimes it is helpful to show percentages in a frequency table by, including a column for relative frequency. The relative frequency of a given category is found by dividing the frequency of that category by the sum of all the frequencies. The number of computers owned by the family of each student in Ms. Fontana's class is shown below. Now you can see all those. So what I've done, I've created a frequency table. Here's how the information looks in a partially completed frequency distribution table. Complete the last column of the table. Now as you can tell, computers owned 0 was 4. People with 1 computer was 4. People with 2 was 8. People with 3 was 5. People with 4 was 2. And people with 5 was 2. So in all reality, there are 25 computers owned in her class. Or 25 students in her class, rather. Now, the people that own 0, 4 out of 25, which is equivalent to 16%. Now, I want to do, I've done 8. Now I want to know how many people own 3 computers. 5 out of 25. So I'm going to convert that to a percent. 5 out of 25, and I get 20%. 2 out of 25, 8%. 8 and 8. Now, all of these should add up to be 100%. Sometimes you may want to look at 2 variables at the same time and determine if there's a relationship between them. One way to do that is create a two-way table. You can enter either frequency counts or relative frequencies in the cells of the table. 10 students in the class were asked 2 questions. They were asked to tell if they would do chores at home or not. They were then asked if they receive an allowance or not. The results are shown below. Create a two-way table to show the frequency counts for the data. Determine how the table will look. Include a column for allowance. Step 1, determine how the table will look. Include a column for allowance and no allowance. Include a row for chores and no chores. Decide how to fill in the first and second rows. Okay? Now looking back at the two-way table in example 3, I can conclude that the students who got an allowance are more likely to do chores than students who do not. Find the relative frequencies. Now as you can tell, people that did chores, there were 4 that got an allowance, 2 that did not. No chores, 1 and 3. And then the frequency was 5, 5, 6, 4. And both of those added up to be 10. Now, here's how you do it. To find the relative frequencies of all the students who got an allowance, 4 out of 5, or 80% do chores, while 1/5, 20% do not. And as you can tell, 80 plus 20 equals 100%. Of all the students who do not get an allowance, 2/5, convert that to a percent, you get 40%. And then 3/5 is 60%. And both of those add up to be 100%. And then over here, you add these. You get 60 and 40, which is 100%. Now, how did I get that? I took the total. Sorry, that stumped me for a second. You get the total. It goes 6 over 10 and 4 over 10. 6 over 10, 4 over 10, and that's where I got my 60% and 40%, and that adds up to be 100%.